Hey, it's TrackstarGGs, back with another video in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Today, we're going to be going over the most recent patch notes, like the feature run being completely broken and uncompletable for me, and a couple ideas to make the player user experience more friendly and intuitive. First, let's talk about the in-game mini event for the week, Fortunate Encounters, which is supposedly dropping more loot and moon orbs in the overworld encounters. I'd like to say that was a lie. It's still not really a reason to do any of the encounters in the overworld. I wouldn't recommend doing overworld encounters at all because it's pretty much just the Chaos Chamber with less rewards. Now, I'd like to talk about the Chaos Chamber and the feature run for the week, which is completely broken for me. I have not been able to finish a run in the feature run because when I get to the side bosses, it does not allow me to transition to the Chaos Chamber at the end, as you can see in these videos playing now. I've been told that falling through the map in the Chaos Chamber's final run happens often, but I haven't seen anyone speaking about it at all. There is a huge glitch in the Chaos Chambers when you are down before the encounter clears, or when the encounter clears. I believe this can be fixed by giving invulnerability to all players as soon as the encounter is cleared. This way, it's impossible to die after. If you play Graveborn and use the action skill Reaper of Bones, and you have the curse activated, Rogue Light, when Reaper of Bones ends, you die automatically. Although the Reaper of Bones action skill is supposed to revive you with health instantly when the action skill is over. There is no death save animation for Reaper of Bones normally. The interaction happens and instantly heals you, and you don't go down. But with Rogue Light, the Chaos Chambers act as if the end of Reaper of Bones is a death save. This has to be fixed. Moving on to the Magic Barrage. As you can see here, the damage has been significantly nerfed, but the spell is still useful. I have no clue why Gearbox is nerfing things in a PvE environment where players can't attack players. It makes absolutely no sense to nerf anything at all, and I hope that they don't do it again. Instead, Gearbox should look at the items that aren't being used and buff them so that they're viable. If you want people to use less of a gun, then make the other guns more useful. Why am I receiving uncommon volatiles? Why are some of my volatile weapons weaker than my chaotic variants? I got a chaotic quad bow, which is better than the volatile version. The assault rifle weapon class is severely lacking, even with the 2 new weapons they added. The quad bow is useful, having 2 separate firing modes, one that shoots vertically and one that shoots horizontally. I believe it can spawn in all elements and even without an element. The other weapon, the Thunder Anima, only spawns in electricity, and it is definitely the second best assault rifle in the game, compared to the quad bow, which I believe is the first. Although these 2 weapons are extremely good for assault rifles, it's very disappointing to me that they were added in post, because without them, the assault rifle class is still useless. Thankfully, the sniper rifles have gotten an increased overall damage of 20%, and this has actually been a benefit. My legendary Caruser does more damage now, and I appreciate that. Gearbox claimed to increase the damage representation for poison weaponry, and honestly, it doesn't really feel like much of a change because I didn't see a problem with poison in the first place. It was already doing a lot of damage for me, so I appreciate that. Now, before we get into the nerfs, I'd like to talk about the 3 spells that were mentioned in the patch notes: Eruption, Hydra, and Sigil. I still find all 3 of these spells useless. In my opinion, the Hydra spells won't be useful unless they have a cooldown of less than 15 seconds. Because even with 2 charges, if I have to wait 25 seconds for another Hydra spell, it's not going to be useful if the Hydra only lasts for 6 to 10 seconds. I'm much better off just utilizing what I already do with the pistols, the SMGs, and the shotgun Hydra companions. I've never been a fan personally of the Eruption or the Sigil spells because they don't do enough damage and they have longer cooldowns. with 1 or 2 charges. I can't see myself using spells with long cooldowns because the fight is over before I get a chance to use the spell. 2 or 3 times if there's only 1 charge and the cooldown is over 20 seconds. Now for the nerfs. I won't be showing any liquid cooling footage or handbow footage, but footage of the damage for the Catatumbo, the Queen's Cry, the Ruby Spite, and the Automagic.exe will be featured below, along with damage for the Gluttony. I personally did not utilize any of these weapons before the nerf, but also before the nerf, I recently noticed the Gluttony was really good, so seeing the damage scale up for that has me extremely excited. Out of the 4 nerf weapons I mentioned, the Ruby Spite is still pretty decent in my opinion. The rest of them I couldn't recommend using. Now moving on to some things I think they can add to Tiny Tina's Wonderlands to make it a better game overall. I would love for the developers over at Gearbox to stop having crystals fly from enemies in the Chaos Chamber. I would much rather the crystal count just automatically adds to the number at the top. These crystals are problematic because they cause the game to lag from spawning in too many individual objects. I would also like to see the rabbit room at the end of Chaos Chambers replaced with vending machines. If we could replace every rabbit with the vending machine, it could potentially allow for me to place all of my crystals in one machine and scroll through the weapons it presents instead of looking on the ground like a peasant-ass peasant. This will also alleviate the issue with weapons disappearing on the floor when I spend more than 10,000 crystals at a time. I have more ideas for fixes, but I'll leave those for another video. Hopefully Gearbox can get these glitches with the featured run fixed. Thanks for checking in. TrackstarGGs checking out. Do not subscribe.